The secret to well-being is discovering the power that is your birthright, the power to create a happier, healthier life drawn from our own vast internal resources. Join Jules and her guests as they gently guide you to shift your perspective from the familiar negative to the divinely connected, a place that will not only positively impact your world, but possibly shift the planet. It's all right here on Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
Well, welcome to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I'm Jules from beautiful, sunny Palm Springs. I had to think about where I was. We are in the midst of videotaping this, and I'm not used to seeing my face, and I'm not used to seeing my terrific co-host, Dr. David Che. So this is a thrill that we get to see each other, and we have got a very, very exciting topic. And we wanted to come video-wise so that David could show you what he's talking about, because we're dealing with palm reading. And welcome, David. I am so thrilled to be doing this.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've done law of attraction topics. We've done medical, health topics, Chinese medicine. I mean, we're hitting like tons of topics here. And this one's really special to me because it's something that has interested me for a long time, just like the law of attraction. And obviously this is the first time for both of us. We're going to be doing video with this. So, reading the palms is something that it seems kind of mysterious, and it's kind of hard to get the right information about it. And so, for our listeners, where we always give them a lot of good information, this is a good chance for them to learn something new again.
Well, David, does this have to do with Chinese metaphysics? Or what is it?
Well, I mean, you can say that because in Chinese astrology, which, there's a lot of Chinese astrology stuff out there, and it's been old, you can say it originated in India and then China, but in the West, during the Middle Ages, I mean, it must have traveled from the Far East to Europe, and it got huge in Europe at the time, and so, it was always associated with gypsies and crystal balls and the palm. But, I mean, to modern times, I mean, it's carried with us from, the old times till now, and it's been modernized a little bit. We've updated it. And if you know what you're doing, just like astrology to me, people say, oh, that's a bunch of bunk. No, there are a lot of quacks out there, a lot of charlatans, we call them, But if you know what you're doing, if you're someone that knows what they're doing, there's a lot of truth to astrology, because astrology was the basis of astronomy. Just like we have alchemy in the ancient times, it's become chemistry. A lot of the ancient sciences, if you know what you're doing, are the ones that became the precursor for modern science. And so palmistry stuck with us. I mean, if you know what you're doing, I mean, there's a lot of truth to be shown in our palms. And so people that doubt that, I mean, think about it. Everybody's palms have different lines. It's not the same. If we were all the same, it'd make a difference. There wouldn't be so many variations in lines. But there is definitely hidden lines in your hand, and there's meanings behind them. And like I said, I can't claim to know all of it because there's so much to know about it. But the hand is like a little miniature mirror of us. The whole body. The hand tells a lot about who we are and what we're thinking. And so, no, it's definitely not limited to Chinese now. I mean, maybe in ancient times, but today it's all over the world. And so, if you know what you're doing, you can learn a lot from your hands.
It's kind of like when we were born. These things that are being revealed are like what we're supposed to be doing in our life, or it's supposed to be a hint as to what we're supposed to be going after or whatever. So we're born with these hints that maybe we should take note of and be aware of.
Oh, yes. And, when you're born, I mean, I just saw one of my employees' babies the other day. I mean, you pull out their hands. I mean, we already have lines in our hands from the moment we're born. And it's cool to most people don't do it, but you take your baby's palm when they're first born, when not too long after they're born, make a palm print of it. And as they get older, about 3 years, you make another palm print when they're 5. And as you move along, you can see that the lines can change. I mean, it's just like we say in the law of attraction. I mean, yes, we have a destiny, maybe you can say, but that's not to say our life is predetermined. In the law of attraction, we say maybe there's some predetermination, but you have in the stars, that is, you have the ability to change your life. That's the whole point of the law of attraction, is to understand how the laws of the universe work, how to change your future. And a palm reading is great because it allows you to understand yourself and to understand where you're headed, and to know that you can make the choices in your life that can change and change your life. And so it's not set in stone. I mean, maybe it kind of set in a pencil, like pencil, but you can erase it and you can change your future as you move along.
Wow. Yeah, that's good explanation right there. So you said a baby's palm will change.
All the lines will change as they get older and as they grow, and even not just the baby, but from when you were 20 years old until you're probably 40, it's going to change again too. It keeps changing because our minds keep changing. The way that we think keeps changing. Our goals, what we want to do, that keeps changing. So our lines will change.
Isn't it something? So it's just like law of attraction, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it's all connected. I mean, all these things are intimately connected in some way. As long as you understand how to read it, how to understand it.
Wow, that's brilliant. I love this. I love this. Okay, so David, what's the first thing that we have to know about our palms?
Okay, so if you can see the picture of my palm and the hand. Okay, everybody wants to say, when I got started on palm reading, it's like, well, let me see the lines. Let me see the lines. Show me the lines, and that's where everybody goes. But before we get to the lines themselves, it's real important that we identify what kind of hand you have.
Oh.
Now, yeah, lines are great, and we'll get to that eventually. But to know your hand, the kind of hand you have, the type of hand you have, is real important first. Now, if you go through some of the palmistry books, and I've looked through a lot of different books, it gets confusing. They say, oh, do you have a spatula hand? Do you have a square hand? Do you have a conic hand? Do you have this and that? And then there's like 7, 8, 9. I mean, there's so many different kinds, and it's so hard to keep track of it. Well, there is actually a more simplified version on how to determine what kind of hand you have. And it's based on the ancient elements, and there's 4. There's earth, there's air, there's water, and there's fire. Those are the 4 ancient elements. And so by the 4 ancient elements, we always say the human body is like a micro-miniature universe, okay? Microcosm of the universe. So with the 4 elements, we can say, okay, there's 4 main types of hands that we all have. And the way I understand it, to make it simple so it's not so confusing, is always look at to determine what kind of hand you have out of the 4 elements is, let me see if I can move okay, here we go. Now, look at the size of my middle finger, the longest finger, compared to the size of my palm. Okay? Look at the ratio of that. Now, if you have short fingers relative, like my fingers are short relative to the length of the distance of my palm from here to here, okay? If the longest finger is shorter than that, okay, then you have 2 types of hands. Oh, also 2, I'm sorry. Then look at also, and move it back further. Okay, so if you look at the shape of the hand, there can be 2, either rectangle or square. Now mine is more of a square.
We're looking at the base of the fingers, and okay.
Yeah. So let me see yours. Pull yours to the camera, a little further back. Yeah, you have more of a square. Someone who has a real thin hand like this, it could be rectangular. It looks more of a rectangle. Right. Rectangle, we know square is equal all sides more, and rectangle is 2 sides are longer than the other. Okay, so you look like you have more of a square hand. Like some people who have a thinner hand like this, squeeze it, it's gonna look more rectangular, but ours look more square. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. That's
good. So if you have short fingers and you have a rectangular shaped palm, okay, it's gonna be more. And we're not really looking at the thumb here. We're just going towards like here, 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 and here. Okay. If it's short, if the fingers are shorter relative to the palm, there's 2 kinds of hands you can have. You can have a fire hand or an earth hand. Now, if you're rectangular, short fingers, rectangular, you're fire. Shorter fingers, square, earth.
Oh, so I'm earth.
Yeah, I think you're like me. I think we're both earth. I was looking at your hand, I was like, wow, it's kind of shaped just like mine. I was like, whoa.
We get along.
Yeah.
We've known each other for
so long. Okay, so yeah, that's earth hand. You have a square and shorter fingers. Okay, now if you have a longer fingers, okay, there's 2 other kinds, obviously. There's 4, right? So long fingers and square palm, that's air. Long fingers relative to the palm, and it's rectangular, water. Okay, so little description of each. If you have a fire hand, okay, again, that's shorter fingers, rectangular palm, okay, fire hand, you're really, really enthusiastic, you have a lot of energy, you're on the go all the time, you can become an actor, that's kind of personality, you're outgoing, very, gregarious, outspoken, lots of energy. Okay, you're kind of the life of the party, basically. You know, very, very, very energetic and feisty. Okay, if you're like us or Earth, we're the kind of practical, down to earth people. You know, we're practical. We get a lot of practical information. And that's why you're speaking about helping people. That's why I like to get a lot of practical information to help people. Earth people are very down to earth and practical. You
Okay.
know,
That
we might
makes
not necessarily be the most mental and the most detailed, but we like helping people. That's one of the things we like to do. We're practical with our knowledge and how we give advice. That's Earth people. Okay. Now, again, if you have the long fingers and the square hand, a square palm, that's an air hand. Air people with air hands, they're very, very mental. They're very detailed. They like to analyze everything. They think deep. They have really deep thoughts. One of the disadvantages of them is they worry too much because they think so much. You know, like a psychiatrist is someone that can be a great as an air hand because he likes to take things and make logic out of them. So take emotion, take the way we act, and always make a logical explanation of something. You know, scientists. You know, so that's like the air hand. Now the water hand, long finger, rectangular palm. Okay, water hand. Um, these people are really emotional, almost to the point where they kind of are sometimes are out of tune in reality. They're so emotional. Like they might say, "Oh, well, you know, I'm so nice to this person. Why, you know, they like to do good. So I'm so nice to this person. Why is this person treating me bad?" And I have to tell them, "Well, listen, unfortunately, there's not many people like you. Everybody, you know, not everybody's going to treat everybody that nicely. You just expect people to be like you because that's the way you are. And you get really emotional. If someone does them wrong, they think too much into it. They get really, really emotional.
I
That's your
see.
typical fire hand.
They
If you
just
know,
can't let it go.
can't let it go. Yeah, they think about every little thing. Every little thing can worry them. They get a parking ticket. They're like, oh, whoa, what's gonna happen? You know, if you know someone with long fingers and rectangular, look out because that's the kind of person they are. I mean, once you know these four elemental shapes, everything really comes into play before you even get to the lines. It's really, really important that you get the four. You know, like I said, I used to be all into the lines, but after I started understanding the four elemental hand shapes, I mean, that was huge. I look at myself and I'm like, whoa, oh, okay, I'm that kind of person. I would look at other people's and I'm like, oh, wow, it really does make a difference. So these are the four fundamental shapes that you should get down pat first before going to the lines.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like you kind of got that down. Looks like yeah.
Yeah, it's very accurate.
Okay, now moving on to like the thumb. The thumb is huge. Out of all the fingers, the thumb is what separates us from animals, primates. You know, we have a thumb that's opposable to each of the fingers, right? Okay, we can do a lot of things with our hands. Now, the thumb is generally broken down to two halves, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
The dividing line where it
yes,
ends.
okay. Now, the top half is generally considered to show your willpower, and the bottom part of your thumb shows you your logic and reasoning.
Oh.
Yeah. So someone that has a really big top thumb, like the top part of the thumb, they're the will is really strong, real strong. They have a really strong will, to do things. Now most of us have a kind of balance between of the two, but sometimes you'll see people who have a huge thumb, top part at least,
Yeah.
and the bottom part isn't as pronounced. Well, it just means they have a really strong will. They're a really strong will. Now this is not a great analogy, but it's a really extreme analogy. A lot of times on murderers, you'll see them with a big top thumb. We call them a murderer's thumb almost, because to commit a murder for someone it takes a lot of will to do it. Most of us will never kill somebody. That's just a fact. But for the people that get involved with that kind of stuff or do commit those kind of crimes, a lot of times you'll see the top part of the thumb is big. It's like bulbous, round, and
Really?
bulbous. Yeah, because their will is so strong to commit the crime of passion that they did to do something like that.
Okay,
You
you
know.
know what, David? I know everybody who's listening is now looking at their thumb. Now, do I have a murderer's thumb?
Yeah, that's not great. I mean, just because you have a big top thumb doesn't mean you're a murderer. Obviously, I just had to use it just for explanation purposes. But it just means you have a strong will. You have a will to get things to make things happen. I mean, you might not be a murderer. You could be a savior. You could be a big person with command of the of your actions of doing stuff.
Okay,
And
so
so
you're you're just not talking about the size. You're talking of being very fat and
Big at the top of the
big
thumb.
at the top.
Top. Yeah.
Okay.
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 Now, the bottom part, as I said before, is your logic and reasoning.
Right.
So if you have, a big top thumb and not much bottom part, then maybe you have a lot of will and drive, but you don't have much logic and reasoning. So obviously, a murderer isn't thinking about what he's doing when he's doing it. He's using his will to do it. Not thinking about the consequences of what'll happen. Now, on the flip side, someone that has a short top thumb, like real short, okay, and long bottom one, so they don't have a lot of willpower, but they have a lot of logic and reasoning. So they can be real lazy. They don't want to take action. They don't have a lot of will. They have a lot of logic and reasoning, but they don't have a lot of will to make it happen.
Wow.
So someone that has a real short top thumb and a longer bottom part, that means they have a lot of logic and reasoning, but they don't have a lot of will.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. Yeah. And so as we move along, obviously the thumb is the most important. Obviously we have 4 fingers. And again, you're going to see that, I mean, I don't know about the Chinese side of this, but our Western or European interpretation of the hand, again, our body is like a miniature universe, and our hand is like a miniature body, miniature universe on top of us. We say the micro is manifested in the macro, right? So thumb, okay, and then our 4 fingers are correspondent to like the gods, the Roman gods, Greek gods. So this is Jupiter. The finger is Jupiter. The middle is Saturn. Okay. Kind of like the planets, but the Roman gods too. Apollo, god of the sun,
Is
and
your
then
ring finger.
Yeah, ring finger, and then Mercury, your small finger.
Okay.
Okay. The Jupiter finger is concerned with more leadership. You say, yeah, leader, like a leader. Okay. Middle finger corresponds to Saturn, corresponds to more, as they would say, responsibility. How responsible are you in your day-to-day life? Your ring finger, Apollo, shows you your artistic ability, your arts and the arts. And then finally, your pinky, Mercury, that tells you your communication skills, how you communicate with people daily. So any big certain finger, certain longer, bigger, wider, that shows you, a lot of us are average, but this shows you your strong point in a certain area. If you have a big index finger, maybe that's a mark of a leader. Big Saturn finger, middle finger, means you're very, very responsible. Big Apollo finger, ring finger, means maybe you're really talented, you're real artistic in something. You have a talent in a certain art. A great communicator, you might have a big pinky. And so underneath each finger, there's a little pad of tissue,
Right.
And again, just the qualities that I mentioned, if you have a big pad in a certain part of your hand, that means that certain part of your quality is going to come out. So if you have a big pad under your index finger, and a lot of times it's not just that, you'll see a combination. The two are blend together. So like mine's, you'll see it in between the two is bigger. Mine's in between, So you have yours is kind of like mine too.
Yeah.
Yours is kind of like mine. So you have a balance of the two. So like I have a more pronounced amount between my first and second finger. So I'll have qualities of both Jupiter and Saturn, Mercury and Apollo and Saturn, and Mercury and Apollo. These mounts are kind of fundamentals too to reading our palm.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so
Well, so what do they mean? The
mounts?
Yeah.
Yeah, the mounts just correspond to the qualities the same as the fingers.
Okay.
Yeah, so again to review it again, because I kind of went through it pretty fast. First, our index finger, our pointer finger, that means leadership. What kind of leader position are you in? The middle finger is responsibility. The ring finger is your artistic ability, your talents, what kind of creative talents you have. And then your pinky is your communication skills. How you communicate and interact with people. That's kind of like, how you are.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
so fascinating.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Again, this is maybe legend, and I've never seen Napoleon's hand firsthand, but they say that Napoleon had a huge index finger. which explains why he was the emperor of Europe. Yeah, a big time leader. Yeah, he might have been short in stature, but he had a huge index finger. And again, this is just what I've understood, what I've heard. I've never personally seen Napoleon's finger, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did have that, because he was a huge leader in history. One of the most famous leaders in history. So, and we're moving along. As we move along, again, this is just the basics of palmistry. As we move along, one of the big questions is, do I look at my left hand or do I look at my right hand?
Good question.
What's the difference? And the lines are different on both hands. And I've scoured through many different books. I'm like, okay, well, this tells you this tells you that. Let me give you a few theories that I've heard. One theory is, well, assuming you're right-handed, which I am, that's my dominant hand. Your left hand, your non-dominant hand, shows you what your life, what you're born with, and your dominant hand, the one you write with, the one you do everything with, that shows you what you're making of your life now. Okay. Okay. And another way to understand it, which I understand, I guess it's kind of similar, and that's your non-dominant hand is what you are secretly, what you have thought about doing, but never did. And your dominant hand shows you what you actually did. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's different theories. There's different. You go to different books. You talk to different people. You talk to different. But I think that's a pretty good indicator, because what we think isn't always what we do.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought about doing this, but I actually did this. This is what I've done. So your non-dominant. So it's safe to say your non-dominant hand is more of what you're maybe thinking, and your dominant hand is more of what you've actually accomplished, what you've actually done.
Interesting.
Yes.
I love this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you go through the hands, again, I don't want to get too detailed, but some of the major lines, the three major lines in our hands. You can see here, yeah. There's three main lines, but obviously there's so many different lines. But there's three main lines, and the line that we're so familiar with that curves across our thumb like this, the pad of our thumb here.
Yeah.
This one's a lifeline. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
From there.
The one that curves. Yeah, the one that curves
goes all the way down to the
down palm like here. Okay. And then the second line that comes across this way, that joins the lifeline, that's the one that comes across like this. That's touching a lot. Sometimes it doesn't touch the lifeline, sometimes it does. Yeah, it comes across that way. Yeah, like that. That's your headline.
That's the headline.
Headline, okay. And then the line that starts here and moves across this way,
From
that's your
underneath your pinky.
Pinky, all the way across, that's your heart line.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just stay with the three basic lines for now. Okay. The lifeline, it can tell you. I mean, people say, "Well, does the length show my life?" Yes, it could, but you can't always say that's for sure. Like so if someone has a short lifeline, or breaks here, you can't always say, "Oh, well, you're gonna have a short life." That's, And then here's one thing about palm reading. Yes, it's really accurate. I mean, it can be accurate when you want it to be. But again, just like the law of attraction, it's one aspect of our life. You can't just, look at someone's palm and say, "Oh, you got a short lifeline." And you got to be responsible in your readings too. You can't just say this is what is going to happen. And so what we're talking about here is responsibility when looking at a palm, and giving a generalized reading. Sometimes you can't always be 100% sure of what you're looking at. But you can say that a lifeline that's deep and heavy is good, means good health. If you see any breaks in the lifeline, if there's like line and then break and then joins up again, typically what that means from what I've seen is that, because the start of your life is here, and here's something good to know. If you draw a line between your second and third fingers and go down, where that imaginary line touches your lifeline, that's why you're 21 years old. Right here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
From your index finger to your.
No, in between the two. You draw a line going straight.
Okay.
You draw a straight line straight down. Where it touches your lifeline, that's about when you're 21.
Oh my goodness.
Generally
That's
speaking, yeah.
Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
21 there.
Now if you go this way and come from your pinky and angle it and come across like this, that's about when you're 35.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
right there, 35.
Yeah, and the bottom of your palm is when you're about 65, right here, the bottom.
Right here, 60.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I'm almost there. Okay, but I looks like
Yeah.
I'm going to be
But-
100.
But if there's any breaks in the line, it generally means there's a period of difficulty. A period of difficulty could be the person got sick, really sick, got in a bad car accident, some sort of accident, fatal accident somewhere, or maybe not just that person, maybe the person's spouse, maybe the person's mother died. There was a definite difficulty in the life, and it's not, like I said, it's not always the person that you're reading. It could be their family, someone close to them. It mentally affected them, so the lifeline would be broken there, could be broken there.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll see, rarely, you'll see a square in that you might see even see a square in the break,
Yeah.
and what that means is there was maybe a guardian angel or something that happened to solve the problem, help solve the problem.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yes.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So that's the lifeline. And now, if you see a lifeline, I mean, let's put it this way. Again, we don't want to jump to conclusions, but if you see a lifeline that's really short, that's generally not a good sign. And then if you have it, maybe your health isn't great. You need to do something to get yourself healthier. Okay. A lifeline that's not deep and real deep and pronounced, that's not good either. It's too light. It means the person's, I guess in Chinese medicine, we can say their chi. Or in India, they would say their prana, their life force, isn't really strong. If you have a nice, strong, pronounced lifeline, that means your chi or your prana is strong. Your inherent energy in your source in your body.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with mine, there's been breaks, but then I get to my age, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's stronger, and it must be because I'm doing my vitamin C, iodine.
It could be all those things you're doing. Yeah.
And it's deep, and it's strong, and it's
Strong,
all
yeah.
around.
And not just you, but let's say in your younger, it was broken. Maybe you had some difficulties younger in life. Maybe there was divorces. Maybe there was, sick children, something, something that made life difficult in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's huge. That's lifeline. Now and I said that the line that was coming down from the lifeline, the headline.
Yeah, the headline.
Okay, that's a real important line too. That shows our brain power, our mental capacity. Yeah. Now, a short lifeline doesn't necessarily mean you don't have strong capability, and a long lifeline doesn't necessarily mean you have a really strong brain power. Now, what a short lifeline does mean, because of the length of it, what that tells you is attention to detail.
Oh, this line
Yeah,
is attention to
detail.
Oh,
But
my goodness.
a lot of your brain power comes straight to that line. That's your brain capacity.
Okay, I got to
So some of that has
so I don't
Yeah.
get into details.
Detail, yeah. And then that might not necessarily be a bad thing. It's just, we all have different kinds of people in this world. So if you have a really long lifeline, it can mean you're really, really detailed. You think too deep. You think really, really deep in this stuff. And that could be a good thing, or sometimes that's a bad thing too. So a short lifeline just means maybe you're not as detailed as some other people with a long
Are
line.
you saying lifeline?
No, not lifeline, headline.
Headline.
The headline, yeah.
So the headline, if the headline is deep.
Deep and long and deep. It generally means the person's really attention to detail, really
Okay.
detailed.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
That
and then
just revealed me.
Yes, and then also too, um, there's different mounts. The mount that's at the edge of here,
Yeah.
okay? You know how we have the earth, we have the moon? This is like the moon for the hand, for the body, the moon. This is called the mount of the moon right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's on the opposite side of the thumb.
Yeah, and the fleshy palm side, this is the mount of Venus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Venus was the goddess of love, right?
Right.
Right. So again, not to make generalizations, but if you have a really pronounced mount of Venus, like a nice fat, amount of Venus, it shows your sensual nature.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Someone that has a real flat mount of Venus might not have a real sensual nature. They might just be, not as emotional, not as,
Interesting. Well, that
Yeah.
was me years ago. But
yeah. So this is the mount of the moon.
Okay.
Okay.
Down to the
And
moon.
yeah, the more you think about it, the hand is like a miniature universe, Earth, miniature universe. Yeah. And so this is the mount of the moon on the opposite side. Now, if your headline goes straight across, okay, you're a very logical, practical thinker. If your headline curves toward the mount of the moon, curves down toward that mount of the moon, the greater the curve, the greater the imagination.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's been said that Einstein's line went like way curved. It was like,
Wow.
I mean, this is the guy that was thinking like, how do I go as fast as the speed of light? Or where does gravity come from? I mean, this guy was imagining things all day. I mean, his line was curved as you can get, you know.
Yeah,
His headline was really curved.
he always
Yeah.
said that the imagination was more
Mission.
important than books.
Yeah, exactly. So he had a huge like curvature, you know.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah. The curvature is real important, you know.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the
So
basics.
that's got to be helpful in the law of attraction too, because if you've got imagination, you're better able to bring.
Manifest things. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's a real cool tidbit about the headline. Okay. Now we saw that again, going back, we saw that the lifeline
Yeah.
goes here and it curves around, right?
Right.
And the headline comes straight down this way, right? Now look at the beginning of your headline because it starts here.
Right.
Is it joined or is it joined together or is it broken, separated from the lifeline?
It's separated.
Separated. Okay. So like yours is separated. Let me see. Yep. Yours seems separated. Yep. Mine is real joined together. Now what does that mean?
Yeah.
I
What
want to
does
see,
that?
see how mine's real joined together at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Someone that has a real open or closed, there's two different kinds. If you're joined together, it means you were you needed help, like you were closely associated with family when you were a child before you broke away on your own. Now, people that have like a big gap between their, you know, or a good sized gap between their lifeline, I mean, sorry, their headline and then their lifeline and then their headline,
Yeah.
a good gap, it shows independence. So
Yeah.
maybe they're a little kid, mom and dad want to help them. They said, no, I want to do everything myself. I don't need your help. I want to do everything myself. You were very independent. I mean, you might have known at the age of 10 that you wanted to be somebody and you wanted to not live at home anymore. You wanted to go do your own thing.
Oh yeah,
That shows, yeah.
And I
So there's
got
a
a huge separation.
space. Yeah, exactly.
I've always been, and that's my big thing now. I'm so independent. I don't want to ever be married. I'm too independent.
I mean, believe it or not, it's very accurate. I mean, every time I go to someone, we talk about this, and I say, I'll go look at their hand, and I can say, yeah, you were really independent. You want to be. They're like, how do you know that? I was like, I can tell by your hand. I can see it. You know, like in my case, my hand was real joined. I mean, my two lines, and I had a lot to do with. I think when I was a child, I was always, you know, a little scared of doing stuff as a kid. And when we moved from Taiwan to the United States, I didn't know the language, or I didn't know a lot of things, you know. I was nervous. So I was attached to my mom all the time. I was like, oh, take me this, take me that. It wasn't until I got to a certain age where I could feel my independence, you know. But I have to admit, as a kid, I was very attached to my mom, making sure that she could keep me safe and everything else, you know.
I see.
So yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, next time you see someone's hand, check it out. Look at where the junction starts between the head and the lifeline. And the bigger the break, the bigger the independence at a young age, where it started from.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
yeah,
that explains it. Yeah, my mom was always on my tail about being too independent.
yes, yes.
Ooh, boy, I caused them a lot of problems. Anyway, that's good. That's good information. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're covering a lot of ground, like, obviously, in a short period of time. You know, covering a lot of ground, a lot of information. And of course, the main line is the heart line coming across from here, and it goes up like this.
Right.
Okay, so naturally speaking, heart. What do you associate with heart?
Love,
Love, emotion, right?
emotions, yeah.
So our heart line talks about our emotions, our strength of our emotions. So if you have a heart line, now generally for most people, your heart line is going to go from here, starts at the back of the base of here, the hand,
Right, yeah.
and move up towards the index finger.
Yeah,
Okay.
move up towards. Okay.
Okay. Now the greater the distance from here to the index finger, okay, the greater the emotion. So for example, let's say like mine kind of, let me see here. Okay. Mine kind of ends like here. Now, for most people, it's going to end somewhere between the second and third finger. You know, the index finger and then the middle finger, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
I'm
pretty
like
normal.
you. I'm like
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So that shows a good balance of emotion. But occasionally, you're going to see people. Well, I can't say if you see a lot of palms, it won't be so occasionally. But occasionally, you're going to see people with lines that go from here and it runs all the way across, all the way to the base of the finger almost.
Base of the
And
index.
index finger or further up. And what that means is this person is going to be like emotional to the point where Like he gives so much of his heart out. Like for example, let's say I'm the boss, and um, I know this person's like, can you just get me a job? I really need this job. Please don't. And even though he's not qualified, he doesn't give him the job because he feels bad for the guy. As that kind of person, just so emotional. Man, can you help me out? Can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah, he's got a really really deep emotional heart feelings. And so like I said, most of them are balanced. But then sometimes you'll see these lines go from here and it'll end under the middle finger. And what that means is again, logically speaking, this person won't have a lot of emotion. I mean, they may have emotion, but they're not good at showing it. They can hold it in a lot. You
Yeah.
know. So um, you can kind of say in a way the length of your heart line is the depth of your emotion. you know. And it's not, and like I said, it's not always good to have a really long line because you may, now you're gonna hire someone who is not really qualified for your job, and they may not be doing a good job, and you don't want to get rid of them. You don't want to let them go. So it's not doing good for your business if you do something like that. You see, it might be hurting your business. So it's always good to have balance. Like law of attraction or the yin and the yang in Chinese medicine. We always say, yeah, you gotta have balance. It's good to have balance. You don't want to have too much or too little of something. And so, people thought, well, I have a good long lifeline, a long headline, and a long heart line. Everything's gonna be good. No, something too deep and too tough isn't always a great thing. You gotta find some balance. So next time you see someone's heart line, you can go through so many hands and you can see someone's heart line. Look at the depth and the distance of the two. You know, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
David, as you mentioned at the very beginning in the babies, so would their lines may be connected at the, like, for the heart line and the lifeline, not the, what's this line?
Oh, the headline.
Headline? If they are more connected, would they separate as they grow
Oh
older?
yeah. Actually, you won't see too often when they're connected. They're actually really separated. Yeah, yeah. You don't really see them connected. It's really rare to see them connected.
Well,
Yeah.
are they connected when they're babies?
No, no.
Oh,
You can look at
okay.
a few babies' hands and see for yourself. I mean, obviously, the hands like this small, and they're like, their hands not developed yet. But when they're a little baby, yeah. I mean, you could see the lines are real pronounced. Sometimes baby lines are heavy. They're heavy lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
And then remember what we're showing you. Um, remember here's your lifeline, and here's the inside of the lifeline.
Yeah.
If you see a lot of lines inside those lines,
Yeah.
inside that area that I'm talking about, that boundary here,
Yeah.
inside this area here.
The
Okay.
mound. Yeah.
Yeah, the mountain. Okay, the mountain of Venus we call it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you see a ton of lines in there, it means those are worry lines. It means someone thinks a lot, thinks too much. Like having some lines is normal. Comes with every day. The way we hold our palms. But if you see a lot of little lines in them, like a ton of them, those are worry lines. I mean, they think too much.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not just limited to inside here. I mean, you see someone's hand with a lot of lines all over the palm, it means they think too much. And a lot of times, from my experience, it's not for the benefit of the person. They just
Really?
think they worry too much. I had a dentist colleague that I saw her palm, and it was just and before I even saw it, we already knew that she's thinks too much. She thinks too much about stuff. Just over worries, over analyzes everything. And so you see her palm. Oh my goodness, it was just there's lines everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. It's a real just too much. Too much. We call it too much scattered thinking. Too much. It's not really focused. It's scattered. Scatterbrained. You don't need to be thinking that much about stuff.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
that's what hurts you in the law of attraction too.
yeah. It's just thinking too much into stuff. I mean, I tell you, don't think too much into it. Just leave it simple. Leave it basic. Don't do too much into it.
Interesting.
So yeah. Okay. All right. Now here's a little tidbit. People don't talk too much about the line. This isn't actually in your palm. Underneath your wrist here, you'll see like a few lines going across.
Yeah.
Those are called the bracelets of Neptune. And most people, I have three. You should be able to see three. There's like, let's see if I can find it here. One, two, three. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those little bracelets. We call them bracelets of Neptune. Yeah, like
Okay.
there. Yeah. As long as they're, good, nicely defined, not broken or anything, for the most part, if you have them, it just means good health. You have pretty good health. That's a good thing to have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there. Yeah. Now, from what I've talked about so far, there's so many variations. I mean, you can get a book on palmistry, and you can find so many variations, but you got the basics of it. This is what the basics of it. I mean, there's so many variations in the lines. You can find an encyclopedia of palmistry, and you can find so many different this combination, and that combination. It can be mind blowing. But if you know the basics that I've just told here, you can read a lot of palms already. You can get a good idea of your coworker. Like if you know their earth hand, or their air hand, or their water hand, or their fire, the basic lines of the lifeline, the heart line, the headline. Know these. You're already way ahead of the pack already. And the purpose of us talking about this today, just like I do the law of attraction, is I simplify the law of attraction so most people can understand it. You don't need to go through 10 different books. I've been through all the different books on palmistry, so you don't have to go through all the many different books. What I taught you here, you can read 70% of palms already with good accuracy and see what's going on already and have a good understanding of how they are.
But you've gone so much in depth. Usually when a person wants their palm read, they want to find out how many marriages, how long am I
Yes.
going to live, how
Yeah.
many kids am I going to
Yeah.
have, and everything
Yeah.
like that. And I mentioned that to you, and you said, well, that's not
Yeah,
really accurate.
like for example, in palmistry they'll say like, okay, here's your heart line, right? And above your heart line there's a line that should be coming across here. You don't really need to clench it. If you just look at the heart line and go above it, there should be another line above that, like about right here under your pinky. How many lines do you have?
2.
Two. Okay. Now, do you have two marriages?
No, I had 3.
Three. Okay. See, so that's your marriage lines.
Yeah.
Those are your marriage lines. So a lot of times that's not entirely accurate. I mean, it's there. You have. Well, wait. Is that your right hand or left hand?
This is my right hand.
Right hand. Okay. What about the other hand? How many lines on there?
1. Oh, 1 and it 2. It's crooked.
Yeah.
See it?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it was fairly accurate. You had two lines. That means you had at least two marriages. You know, and if you had children, that's what they say in books. If you have a line here, that's your marriage line. How many? And then if you have lines coming off of them vertically, it shows how many kids you have. But again, that's not really accurate.
Yeah, because I don't have any kids.
Yeah. It's not very accurate. That's why I don't really talk about it, because I mean to me it's fun to look at and to speculate, but it's not really clear cut.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True.
And then you it's like it's a touchy subject with marriage and kids, because you're looking at the hand, you're like, oh, okay, I only see one line. Well, then the person may think, well, does it mean I can't get married again? Does it mean it really can throw people off? And then if you don't see any children on lines, you can tell them, oh, you don't have any kids. You won't have any kids. I just don't think that's a good topic to really enter or to entertain, because that's a touchy subject. Maybe that person has tried having kids and couldn't have them, had difficulties with it.
But
Maybe
you
the
can
person, yeah,
always manifest kids too.
yes. So
So you can't get locked into what
yeah,
that's saying.
yeah. That's one that I mean I talk about a lot of stuff on the palm, but as far as marriage and children, trying to really analyze that on a palm, I just don't think it's accurate enough to really call it. To really tell someone that. So I kind of avoid that area.
Right.
Okay. However, there is one other line that I think that is good to know, and that's the line that's coming straight down your middle finger. Do you have one? Your middle finger? A line that comes straight down? I have a real clear one that comes right down here and all the way straight like this.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, I don't. It's broken.
Yeah. Broken? Okay. So that's your destiny line. Yeah.
Well,
So
that sounds kind of scary.
no. What a broken destiny line means is, no, if it's a straight line, what that means is this person chose a profession and he's done it forever. A broken destiny line, if you have breaks, that means a change in profession, a change in destiny. So if you have one break, usually it means it's change in one change in destiny. If you have two, maybe you change jobs twice, change professions. If there's a lot of breaks, it means you had a lot of changes in your life. At 20 years old, you were doing this. At 30, you did this. At 40, you did this. At 50, you did that. At 60, you did that. You didn't stay with one profession or stay with one kind of line of work.
Yeah, definitely. That's why it's broken. Okay.
Yeah. So that's your right hand. So that's your dominant hand. Now, again, just to review a little bit, general rule, your non-dominant hand is talking about more what you're secretly thinking, what you had thought about, or some people say what you were born with. What your destiny was. But your dominant hand is what you're currently making of your life,
Oh,
and where
wow.
and the direction it's headed. Okay.
That is so fascinating because I'm
Yeah.
seeing they're so different. They are so
Yes.
different.
Different.
And
Yeah.
this one has the line going all the way down, connected, and this
Yeah.
one is really broken.
Yeah. So maybe in your destiny, maybe when you were born, maybe what you had thought about was doing one thing the same your whole entire life, and in reality you didn't. You changed.
Oh,
You
yeah.
went from this to one thing to something else, and to try
To the
something else.
radio, yeah,
Yes.
to doing
Yeah.
something globally, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally didn't pay attention to my line.
Yeah. Yeah. Palmistry can be fun because not only can you see understand more of yourself as you're going along, but it helps you understand other people too. And once you understand people better, you actually, I mean, what could be a once more difficult person? Like you say, why is this person so emotional? Why does this person think about something so much? Once you look at their hand, whether they're fire, water, earth, or air, oh, okay, now I understand because they have a water hand or they have a air hand. That's that kind of person they are. This world would be so boring if everybody had the same personality. We'd all be a bunch of robots. But this world is interesting and different because everybody is different. And all our palms are different. All our fingerprints are different. Our palm lines tell us a different part of our life of what we're experiencing. And they say that there's a really strong nerve connection between your brain and your arm and your hand. So from your brain to going to your hand, there's a really strong connection. And so that's why everything we think of what we're thinking of, imagining, it shows up on our hand. So think of it as our
Wow.
hand, the lines in our hand and our hand is like a let's just say a good movie screen for what are we thinking of in our mind. We can't see someone's thoughts directly. You can't see our thoughts, but because they travel through our nervous system and go through our arm and into our hand. That's why our hands are a real sensitive part of our body. When we hold a baby, we're holding hands. It's a real sensitive part of our body, and because it's a sensitive part of our body, that's what's so connected close to the brain. So even though you can't see someone's thoughts by looking at their hand, their palm, and the lines, it's like a manifestation of what's actually going on inside.
Wow.
You know?
That is so cool.
Yeah. I mean,
That is,
we don't have much time left. I don't think. All right. Yeah.
um yeah.
Yeah. So let me give our listeners a really quick background of how I got interested, and it's so
Yeah.
crazy when you understand this. You know me. When I was a kid, I'd read law of attraction books and all that other stuff. One of the things I read when I was a kid in elementary school, and again, I don't read the same book as everybody else. So one of them was Strange Unsolved Mysteries. And when you have Scholastic books, Scholastic or what do they call it? You order these books. You can order the books from your teacher, and then they give you a little guide. You go through the guide. You say, "Oh, I want this book. I want this book." And all those like R.L. Stein books and stuff. Well, they had one that's just called Strange Unsolved Mysteries. So I put the order down, and then I signed it to my teacher. And then when the books came in, I got mine. I went home and read it. One of them was called the chapter was called "The Mystery of Kiro." I was like, "Huh? Cheiro." And I was reading this, and it talks about a guy who in the early 1900s, I guess he traveled to India and came back to the United States, came back to the U.S. whatever, and he learned the secrets of palm reading, and he's able to look at people's palms and tell them how they were gonna die, how they were gonna do this, how they are gonna do that, yeah. And so one guy said, he looked at his palm they were on a train or something. He looked at his palm. He goes, "Can I see your palm?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You're gonna die in a boating accident. You're gonna drown." He's like, "No, I don't think so." And so it actually happened. And one guy he told him he was gonna drown at sea. The guy took swimming lessons and he still drowned. Yeah, and it was crazy. It was Kiro. It was so accurate with his like the police would go to him, about stuff like who the murderer is about this. He would look at palms and he can find out stuff that no one would know, no one can understand. I don't know how he learned his craft or where Kiro got his information, but that's what got me started. I'm like, this guy's like mysterious. He's like, and what was crazy was at that time in the U.S., fortune telling, palm reading was illegal. Like you couldn't do it. But because Kiro was his real name was Count Lewis Hammond. That's his real name. Kiro is the Greek word for hand, so he called himself Kiro.
Oh.
Yeah, Cairo. So he the law enforcement didn't go after him because he was so right on so many things. So it was crazy. But ironically, towards the end, his readings weren't accurate anymore, and so they threw him in jail. When he came out of jail, no one really cared for him anymore afterwards. His reputation was gone. And so the irony is he could read everybody else's fortune, but he couldn't read his own. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I do have, out of my many books that I have, one of the books I do have is one of the palm reading books I have. I'm on the many that I do have is a book from Kiro. It's called I forgot what the title of the book is, but it's a hardcover and it's written in the original English from Kiro. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can go on Amazon or whatever, Barnes Noble, Google it. Kiro's Language of the Hand, I think that's what it's called. And then he talks about a little history of palmistry. It's one of the few books he written, a history of palmistry, and some of the lines he goes through. It's a little hard to understand because it's written in Old English, but for someone who's interested in that kind of stuff, I mean that book is definitely should be part of your collection.
So do you think that people before they get married should have their hands read to better
Probably.
understand?
Yeah, to better understand everything. Yeah, it couldn't hurt. It couldn't
Because
hurt.
you're going to find out if they're really emotional or
Yeah, compatible. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
interesting.
mean, there's so many other aspects of it. I mean, we talked about this before. There's the 12 signs, the 12 animals of the zodiac. I mean, I always find this to be, as long as you know what you're talking about and know what you're doing, it's a fascinating part of our life. I mean, yeah, we have science and we have all this other stuff, but again, astrology was the precursor of astronomy, what we have today. So a lot of the spirit, we call it spirit. A lot of the spirit in the old sciences were lost during the modern science. When we started creating modern science, a lot of the spirit that used to be encompassed in the old science, alchemy, astrology, all these palmistry, all these old sciences were lost during time. And I think it's a good time we revisit that stuff because people of the old times before we had modern science, they knew stuff that we didn't know. I mean, they were in tune with the universe. They were in tune with the earth. Now we're more about just living a modern life and electronics and gadgets, and we're getting away from some of the old sciences that really made us who we are.
We're
And
getting
so,
away from understanding
standing, yeah,
us and
yeah,
how we're working. And
yeah,
that's so important right now because especially with the law of attraction, if you don't understand you, how are you going to know what it is that you really want to attract if it's really going to be right for you? So
yes,
it's goes hand in hand. I never understood palm reading, but now I can see really it is that knowledge that we have to know.
yeah. And like I said, a lot of the information, even though I kind of breezed through it today, and you can go back to the video and watch a lot of the stuff I talked about, it might seem so simple, but a lot of times it is that simple. And I gave everybody here a really good crash course on palmistry, a lot of the basic lines. Um, and how they operate. And now you can look at your lines, and based on the information that I gave you today, you should have a good basic understanding of what you're like and what the person next to you is like. It's pretty amazing. Once you start looking at more, you're like, wow. Look at all these lines. I mean, there's a meaning behind these lines. It's not just random lines that were put there by somebody. No, there's definitely meaning behind them.
Wow, this is so fascinating. I love this. I've got a lot more to learn. So people just need to go out and get the books and look at it or have their palm read by people. Not to be
Yeah.
afraid, but more as an intuitive, or they're going to know more about themselves. And I could see this beneficial for parents knowing about their children, especially when they stop getting along. They go
Yes.
through the teen years, to be able to say, well, here's a kid that's so independent that he doesn't want to be smothered by mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Now here's one trap you don't want to fall into, okay? Because I don't know, I'm sure in California you have a ton of people that are tarot card readers, palm readers. I mean, we have a lot of them here too. Okay. There's one trap you don't want to fall into, and that's obviously you're going to pay someone to read your fortune for you or your palm for you, but there is one thing to keep in mind, and that's the trap you don't want to fall into. And the trap is you don't want to pay someone to tell you what you want to hear. Okay. I mean, okay, so I'm paying someone, they're gonna say, yeah, you're gonna be rich, you're gonna find a good husband, you're gonna do. That's not fortune telling. That's not telling you the truth. That's not showing you what's up. If you're doing that, you just spend money on someone, you're just throwing your money away on someone that's just telling you what you want to hear already. That's not. Don't waste your time with that. That's a waste. And unfortunately, a lot of times some of these fortune tellers, that's what they're doing. You're paying them for them to tell you what you want to hear. You know, I mean, a lot of times, psychologists, not to knock psychologists, but a lot of times psychologists, you're just paying them to listen to what your problems are. They didn't really do nothing for you. Most people can admit to that. You just want to hear, you just want someone to hear what you're going to say. Are they really going to solve your problem for you? No, but they're professional listeners, and that's huge for some people. Like I said, don't misunderstand me. That's huge. You're paying someone to listen to your problems and maybe give you some advice that can maybe make a difference. Of course. But a lot of fortune tellers and palmistry go out. Don't pay them just for them to tell you what you want to hear. Ready? That's a waste of your money. So, be careful when doing stuff like that, when going out and trying to get your fortune read or something like that.
Well, and also, are they influencing you? So they're going to say, no, you're never going to get married. Are they influencing you so that you're going to manifest that because somebody told me?
It could. And when I was talking about Kiro before, how he was able to see the future of some people, there was talk about, he was great in his palm reading abilities, but at the same time, when he was telling someone something, he was kind of subconsciously feeding that kind of thought into the person's mind, so they would be like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna drown. I'm gonna drown." Oh, was that? And in my book, I actually talk about that. I talk about that in a chapter in my book. I do talk about that, to where the influencing of someone's thinking can actually cause them to,
Yeah.
So a fortune teller can seem right sometimes and seem so on, not because he actually told the future, but because he said something that was so. That we say in law of attraction, it's your emotions that manifest things, right? So if I say something to you that you're fearful, that caused you to become emotionally involved with that, what I talked about, you actually might be involved with making that manifest. And it might seem like that I'm the fortune teller, that I said it was right, but not necessarily. I just caused you to manifest it in yourself. So yeah.
Interesting. That's good to note. Oh,
Yeah.
That is so much fun. Well, David, we are out of time, but boy, I just love this. And we are going to put this video on YouTube so that for all those who are listening during your commute, don't keep on picking your hand up and looking at it as you're driving. Don't do that. Just go to the YouTube video and check it out and send all your friends and everything to get a more accurate reading or understanding of what's going on with your hand. So, David, my friend, thank you so much. This was fascinating. I loved it.
Great. Always glad to share, really useful information with our listeners.
And it's different. It's something that we're not hearing every single day, and I just love this. Okay, well, to all the wonderful listeners out there, have a great week. David's going to be back with us next month, and I always love it when he's with me. This is great. So thank you so much, David.
All right, thanks.
Talk to you later.
All right, talk to you later.
Thanks so much for sharing your energy with us today. We will be back with another great show next week on Law of Attraction Talk Radio. If you would like to see a video of this broadcast, go to loaradionetwork.com/jules.html or send an email to jules@loaradionetwork.com.